Hi, I welcome you all in YuktMind's unique initiative of 10 minutes and newspaper done. In this video, we'll be covering 6 July's The Hindu newspaper. You can download the PDF of these news from our website www.yuktmind.com under the current affairs tab. Or also you can download the PDF from our Telegram channel, the link of which is given in description below. Let's get going. In this video, we'll be covering 6 news starting with J&K launches India's first chatbot, paying fine to Informer, affirmative action in America, SCO Summit in India, Iran to be taken to top UN court, and global rupee. The first news India's first telemanners chatbot, which will start an instant conversation with people in distress, were launched in Jammu and Kashmir on 5th July. The initiative will ensure the availability of health counselors, clinical psychologists, and consultants around the clock. The second news. In a first of its kind judgment, a sessions court in Hanumangarh district of Rajasthan has ordered the payment of half of the fine amount imposed on a convict in a Chinkara killing case to the informer as a prize for helping the detection of crime against wildlife. The court said it would make the society insensitive to wildlife protection. The third news. In a groundbreaking decision on 29th June of 2023, in Students for Fair Admission versus Howard, the United States Supreme Court, in short SCOTUS, deemed the race conscious admission policies at Harvard and University of North Carolina as unconstitutional and violative of the Equal Protection Clause, the 14th Amendment. This ruling profoundly impacts affirmative action programs where race has historically been a factor to foster diversity in college admissions. SCOTUS underpinned its verdict with four reasons. First, it emphasized that the Equal Protection Clause is colorblind, and the term equal protection means identical treatment. Thus, race based affirmative action contravenes this promise. Second, it affirmed that any such contravention could only be justified if the state has a compelling goal, and affirmative action is absolutely necessary to attain it. The state must articulate this goal clearly to enable judicial scrutiny. The court found Howard and the UNC's objectives, such as training future leaders, as commendable but vague. Third, the court reiterated an earlier ruling that affirmative action policy should have a sunset clause. However, both universities lacked this. Lastly, the court held that affirmative action should not rely on racial stereotypes or disadvantage anyone based on the race. The Indian and US constitutions are poles apart on how they treat affirmative action. The US Constitution is silent on it, prohibiting only the denial of equal protection, leading to varied interpretation of this amorphous phrase depending on the sitting justices. To today's majority, it means color blindness. To the dissent, it means consciously treating historically oppressed races differently. The Indian Constitution, on the other hand, is more clear thanks to its framers. It expressly allows affirmative action in favor of backward classes in matters of education through Article 15 and jobs through Article 16. Another distinction is the notion of equality that lays the foundation for affirmative action in both jurisdictions. The US seeks to eliminate all distinctions based on race universally. The reason being equality cannot mean different things for different individuals. This applies even for affirmative action that may be justified to undo the historic discrimination faced by African Americans or Hispanics. Thus, the US has a narrow view of equality, which is called a formal equality, and prevents US courts from allowing broad based race conscious measures. India, on the other hand, does not treat all distinctions of race or castes alike. Certain classes, such as the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and backward classes, who have faced discrimination in the past, are not considered on a level field with others. To help them to achieve equal opportunities, it is imperative that they have access to reservation. Thus, in India, reservation is not antithetical to equality, but a tool that furthers equality. This is called a substantive notion of equality and facilitates Indian courts to pass pro reservation judgments in sync with the constitutional mandate. Now, let us talk about test of constitutionality of affirmative action in two countries. The US has strict scrutiny of all measures that create distinctions based on race. This means a measure is constitutionally permissible only if it furthers a compelling state interest and is narrowly tailored to achieve such interest. So any broad measures in US are viewed with great caution so that non-minority candidates are not disadvantaged at the cost of minority. In stark contrast, Indian courts have a very different standards to meet under Article 15 and 16 of the Constitution. Education and public employment are already enshrined in the Constitution as legitimate goals for reservation. Thus, the standard adopted by courts focuses on whether the class seeking reservation is socially and educationally backward and inadequately represented. In employment, this requires proof of quantifiable data from the state. If these two criteria are met, even broad reservation measures are constitutional and the interests of the non minority are instead taken care of by capping reservations at 50%. The fourth news. As Iran joins the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that is SCO, as its ninth member, leaders of the SCO at a virtual summit chaired by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on July 4th stressed that the formation of a more representative and multipolar world order is in the global interest. So, what is SCO? The SCO was built on the Shanghai Five grouping of Russia, China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, which had come together in post Soviet era in 1996 in order to work on regional security, reduction of border troops, and terrorism. In 2001, the Shanghai Five inducted Uzbekistan into the group and named it the SCO. The organization has two permanent bodies, the SCO Secretariat based in Beijing and the Executive Committee of the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure in Tashkent. So, what are the main goals of the SCO? The SCO describes its main goals as strengthening mutual trust and neighborliness among the member states, promoting their effective cooperation in politics, trade, economy, research, and technology and culture, making joint efforts to maintain and ensure peace, security, and stability in the region, and moving towards the establishment of a democratic, fair, and rational new international political and economic order. The latter part of the statement, which calls to build a new international political and economic order, did not sit well with the US and Europe and has led to the SCO being dubbed as anti NATO. So the question is, has SCO dealt with bilateral issues? Since the year 2014, India and Pakistan have cut all ties, talks, and trade with each other. However, both countries have consistently attended all meetings of the SCO's three councils, the head of states, head of government, and Council of Foreign Ministers. So, not only Pakistan, the SCO has also facilitated talks between India and China on the border issue. So, why is Iran's induction significant? For India, which has built its connectivity strategy through Iran's Chabahar port, where it operates terminal and through the international north-south transport corridor that goes through Iran and Central Asia to Russia, the entrance of Iran in the SCO is an important milestone. To begin with, Iran's presence ensures support for New Delhi's moves to circumvent land-based trade through Pakistan, which has blocked transit trade for India. It also allows India to conduct trade with the region while staying out of China's Belt and Road Initiative. So, where the government may find some unease in a more vocal support for Iran is in the fact that SCO is increasingly seen as an anti West forum, and Iran, like Russia, is under severe sanctions. In addition, the US has accused Iran of supplying weapons to Russia, and the expected induction of Belarus next year will only strengthen this image of the SCO, even as India strengthens ties with Quad, making the Indian balancing act more difficult. So, what are the positives of SCO for India? The government has held that joining the original Eurasian group was important as member countries make up a third of the global GDP, a fifth of global trade, a fifth of global oil reserves, and about 44% of natural gas reserves. Also important is its focus on regional security and connectivity, areas key to India's growth and making up its challenges such as terrorism in Pakistan and Chinese aggression, as well as the Belt and Road Initiative. The SCO also gives India an interface with Central Asian markets and resources. Finally, joining the SCO was a key part of India's stated ambitions on multi alignment and strategic autonomy while becoming a balancing power in the world. And it seems no coincidence that India joined the revived Quad with the US, Japan, and Australia in the same year that it took up the full SCO membership. The fifth news. The UK, Canada, Sweden, and Ukraine launched a case against Iran at the United Nations highest court, that is, International Court of Justice, on 5th July over the downing in 2020 of a Ukrainian passenger jet and the deaths of all 176 passengers and crew. So let us read about International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, also called the World Court, is one of the six principal organs of the United Nations. It settles disputes between states in accordance with international law and gives advisory opinions on international legal issues. The ICJ is the only international court that adjudicates general disputes between countries, with its rulings and opinions serving as primary sources of international law. Seated in the Peace Palace in The Hague, Netherlands, the ICJ is the only principal UN organ not located in the New York City. Its official working languages are English and French. The final news of the day. As the government of India presses ahead with its plan to internationalize the Indian rupee, an interdepartmental group of officials of the Reserve Bank of India have in a report cautioned that internationalization of rupees may result in an increased volatility in the rupees exchange rate in the initial stages. So it has cited the need for caution. This would further have monetary implications as the obligation of a country to supply its currency to meet the global demand may come in conflict with its domestic monetary policies, popularly known as the Triffin dilemma. Also, the internationalization of a currency may accentuate an external shock given the open channel of flow of funds into and out of the country and from one currency to another. However, the group held that overall benefits of internationalization in terms of limited exchange rate risk, lower cost of capital due to better access to international financial markets, high seniorage benefits, and reduced requirement of foreign exchange reserves far outweighed the concerns. Now, at last, let us discuss UPSC Civil Services Prelims Examination Previous Year question. It was asked in the year 2019. So the question is, in the context of polity, which one of the following would you accept as the most appropriate definition of liberty? The option A is protection against the tyranny of political rulers. The option B is absence of restraint. The option C is opportunity to do whatever one likes. The option D is opportunity to develop oneself fully. The correct answer would be option D. The term liberty means the absence of restraint on the activities of individuals and at the same time providing opportunities for the development of individual personalities. Liberty, as elaborated in the preamble, is very essential for the successful functioning of the Indian democratic system. However, liberty does not mean license to do what one likes and has to be enjoyed within the limitations mentioned in the Constitution itself. In brief, the liberty conceived by the preamble or fundamental rights is not absolute but qualified. Hence, in this question, the most appropriate definition of liberty is to provide opportunity to develop oneself fully. Thank you for watching this video. You can download the PDF of these news from our website www.yuktmind.com under the current affairs tab. Also, you can download the PDF from our Telegram channel, the link of which is given in description below. Thank you.